We welcome you into another episode of Talking Blizz with Joey Bonadonna. And this week, we welcome in wide receiver number 12, Lowell Patron. Welcome to the show this week, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And a great start to the season for you guys, obviously. Starting off here 3-1 on the season, coming off a win against Sioux Falls. What's the mindset like this week coming off of that win there on Friday?
Uh, just trying to stack on the victory we had against Sioux Falls and working on Iowa and just having that one more mentality we always talk about.
And we'll get a chance to talk about the opponent coming up this week, but let's talk about the game this past week. Obviously, looking ahead, but getting a chance to recap what happened in the week past. Obviously, this last one was a big game for you, coming out with Blizzard Player of the Game this past week. It came with a big. This was kind of an interesting end of the first quarter. Got caught that big catch for 45 yards, then had the fumble in the red zone. Defense gets the ball
Yeah.
right back, and then you still score a touchdown there on that end of the field. Take me through kind of how that sequence went. Obviously, a lot of adversity had to come back from, but came out with a big play at the end.
Yeah, we was backed up in our own goal line. Then we had that 45-yard post play, and then came back. Coach was like, "Need a jet sweep," and then the fumble happened. I was down at first, but I was just trying to like just kind of flushing it and just going about next plays. But I kept it in my mind, and then I probably would have played bad the rest of the game. If that makes sense. But yeah, so I just try to flush that and just keep going about going on the next play.
Well, you still finished with over 100 yards in the air or receiving, two touchdowns, and earned Blizzard Player of the Week this past week. And obviously, this was a big win. The last three wins now have all come against Eastern Conference opponents, all teams that you're going to be vying for a playoff spot with. And obviously, playoffs still coming at the end of the year. We're only 4 games into this, but at the end of the year, those wins are going to be big. But let's take a look at the big picture here. Obviously, coming in here, this is your first year in the IFL. Talk to me about how this adjustment has gone for you coming from the outdoor game here into the indoor.
Oh, it's really different, especially playing receiver because obviously the field is a lot smaller. The routes and everything happens a lot quicker than it does outside, and you got the wall right there and the high motion. There's just so much going on at one time, but once you get adjusted to it, you kind of pick up on little things and how to like move around in the field. And once you get that going, you get comfortable playing the game. It's like I said, it's still a learning process for me though.
It definitely is. I mean, you mentioned just trying to see the rules difference, and the high motion is definitely a big part of that. Um, but overall, um, it's a fun game to play once you figure it out. So
Yeah.
it's been a great start here through 4 games, 15 receptions, 229 yards, 4 touchdowns receiving for you. But let's back things up a little bit. Talk to me about how much football meant for you growing up, and what was your introduction to the game when you were young?
Uh, when I was younger, I started playing football. I'm from Newport News, Virginia, and I started playing football for this team called the Oyster Point Panthers. So when I was 6, I played like defensive line and stuff like that. Wasn't really my cup of tea. I was a kid that was always out in the field like complaining, crying, saying I was hurt, this and that. So my first year was kind of rough. So my parents was like, "Nah, we're not gonna sign him up for football the next year." But my coach, Coach Matt Yarbrough, he called my parents and saw I wasn't on the registration. And then my parents was like, "Well, we can ask him if I want to play football." And I told him, "Yeah, I wanted to play, but I want to play running back," which kind of threw him off because I was a field, I was a kid crying like it's like I got hit. But once I like started running the ball and started playing offense, I kind of fell in love with the game because I used to watch football every day with my dad. He's a big now Washington Commanders. At the time it was the Redskins, but I used to watch Clinton Portis and Santana Moss, seeing them score kind of like opened my eyes to football, and like I wanted to do what they did. So that's how I like kind of fell in love with the game.
So you mentioned coming in playing running back. Clinton Portis was a big um, introduction to the game for you. What were some of your favorite memories watching those teams growing up?
Uh, just at the time, like how physical they were at the time. Clint Portis was always a when his early days of Washington, always a hard runner. And then Santana Moss, he wasn't the biggest guy, but he always played hard every time he was on the field. Like he's probably one of my favorite receivers to watch. This is his mindset and how he goes about every day.
And then as you moved into more into high school and then recruiting go on to play at the college level, what was that process like? Start off at Bluefield, finished off your career um, at Wheeling after COVID, but what was that all process like? Because obviously COVID took a big toll on a lot of people's recruitment after that COVID year. But what was that whole process like for you moving on to college football?
College, well, like I said, I started at Bluefield. That happened with me. I had my high school coach, Reginald Chavis. He was good friends with the coach at Bluefield at the time, Coach Everson and Coach Ordell Walker. And they offered me a scholarship when I didn't really have anything else left. They gave me an opportunity to play college football. And then they had ended up leaving Bluefield that literally the next season. And we had got new coaches, Coach Dewey Luss, and everything with them. Bluefield gave me the opportunity to play football, but things just didn't align how I felt like it's supposed to at Bluefield. So like I said, I played about all 4 years of Bluefield College, and then the COVID year happened, and I realized that I could play because we had the spring schedule, but I have another year of eligibility left. Plus, I had a grad year as well. So I played my last spring at Bluefield 2020, and I called a Coach Nemo Washington. He was also important at Wheeling University at the time, and we kind of hit it off. And to this day, I talk to him like daily, most of the time. But I ended up at Wheeling after the 2020 season, and then like I said, when the Wheeling got with Coach Bruni, they really taught me like the game of football and like how to watch film, how to like play receiver, the little nuances in route running, and all the little things it takes to be great at the game.
Yeah, so when did that transition into being playing wide receiver and getting to the position you are now? What what was that transition like?
Um, it was at first I won't say it was rough, but like just learning small things about it. Like I started playing receiver my senior year of high school. I played quarterback. My first couple years of high school. Then I went to Bluefield. I feel like I was a real raw receiver. I was just real athletic. So like I'm just running my routes 100 miles an hour. I'm running a lot of go balls and I'm not really running like little intermediate routes and just working on the small things. And until I got to like I said, until I got to Wheeling, Coach Nemo took me every day. We watch film on like different receivers, watch my film, how I would look, how I need to like attack the receiver, getting like their blind spots and just work like just work with different things.
So then as you move forward into now opening your professional career, um, what was this transition like and having those conversations with Green Bay here with Coach Roberson, and what was that like deciding that you wanted to come play here for the Blizzard?
Process to come play here at the time, like last summer, I was doing those XFL showcases. I did a couple CFL trials at the time, and actually I got invited to the XFL Combine out in Texas. Met The Rock and Danny Garcia and everybody. And then like 2 weeks later, the league had merged together. And so what they did was like they cut like four XFL teams and four USFL teams and made one big league. But when they cut those teams, they cut like the roster size down and everything. So it kind of messed everything up for guys that went to the combine. So at that time I felt like it was a time I felt like I really wasn't gonna play football again until I had a coach at Wheeling, Coach Andre London. He called Coach Robeson and showed my film. And literally the next day, Coach Robeson called me and offered me the contract to come and play at Green Bay.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely something that you've seen throughout the IFL. A lot of these guys that had opportunities to move on to the XFL or the USFL And then that merger down to 8 teams left a lot of guys trying to find an opportunity to keep playing. And that's what's the IFL has opened up and create a lot more opportunities. Guys coming back, previous league MVP coming back to Frisco, things like that. But that is kind of the state of where the spring football and developmental leagues are at right now. There's always opportunities out there, and that's something that you've touched on as well. But coming into this season, you've talked about the adjustment to the indoor game. Obviously, things have gotten off to a pretty good start. You guys have found a way. I mean, the first game, obviously, coming out and getting that lead against Massachusetts could not finish the job. But since then, everything has looked pretty solid. What have things been like for you in trying to in seeing the week in, week out progress of this team?
I feel like everybody's locked in. We had a player mention yesterday, Vi. He said like this team feels different. Like we're doing the little stuff right. After practice, we're like a large group of guys. Sometimes the whole team will uh go work out in the weight room and these little things like Coach Robin talking about this one more mentality, one more rep. Just want find the one like what's your one more? And we use that as fuel to like push us week by week.
And this is a young team. You mentioned Vi. This is now his second year in the IFL, but he's taken on a leadership role with this team. But outside of really the few guys that have returned from last year, this is a largely rookie based team. Where have you seen that play a factor in the hunger for this year's team?
Um, it definitely has because I kind of compare it to the Green Bay Packers from last year. They were a young team. They mentioned that when they beat the Cowboys, like they're a young team. They kind of just out there just playing. If that makes sense. They're like, oh, we these veterans peak team. They expect this out of us. We're just out there just playing, having fun, and just doing what we love to do.
I mean, yeah, you definitely see those comparisons. Um, the young team, that's the one thing I heard a lot about the Packers last year is they don't know how to lose yet. So it's like
Yeah.
that all you know is you got to go out there and you got to do your job and go out there and find a way to win. So I definitely can see those comparisons to this year's team. This week, you guys taking on the Iowa Barnstormers at home on Friday. Obviously, this is a team you guys have already seen before, and now an opportunity to take the season series out of three with them. What did you learn from that first game against Iowa, and what are you looking forward to this week with that matchup?
As offensive side, Coach Matt, he mentioned like that wasn't our best performance. We left points on the board. And going in this week, we're looking to capitalize on every opportunity we get, especially in the red zone. Just when you see the play, we just got to make them, and that's just the mindset the whole offense has going to this Iowa game. Because they're a hard team, they have a good defense. They got a lot of experience in their defense too. But if we do what we're supposed to do, we can get the win.
And now 3 home games into this season. We've seen some great crowds, but last week that was kids' night. That was the first one of your time here in Green Bay. Uh, Packed out crowd at the Resch Center post game laser show. What was that energy like in that building, and what do you want to see from Blizzard Nation to keep showing out here in the next few weeks?
That was electric because that gave us extra motivation too. I've seen all the fans out there and just give like I said, just gives us fuel to the fire to go out there and perform. I just want the same, if not more, like going all throughout the season because there'll be a lot more victories.
And final question that I always like to finish off with: what's one fun fact about you that Blizzard Nation might not know about you, and something that you'd like to share? Could be yeah, hobby, things like that. Sean Mustin last week said he was into anime. What's your fun fact?
I actually got a few. I mean, I like anime too. I play video games. I received my master's degree from Wheeling University in August. And I'm also a high school football coach at Churchland High School, and like that's another motivation to me. Like seeing my players like just comment on my stuff, like that shows I got to keep going. going. And yeah, that's about it though.
That's something that we can dive into a little bit. Talking about being a coach and a player at the same time. There's obviously different levels from high school to professional, but does that allow you to kind of see things a little bit differently when you're out there on the field yourself as a player?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely does. I told my coach in Wheeling when I first started coaching, I was like, man, I really feel like I feel you, like and how stressful it could be. Because coaching high school, like I tell people all the time, it's definitely a fun experience. I have nothing against it, but it's more than being a coach. You're like a father figure to those kids. You gotta check on their grades, and but it's something that I enjoy. I have a few players I'm close to all of them, but I have a few of them that like kind of gravitate towards me. Dontavius Booker, he's our running back at Churchland, and he's looking for a big season this year. And another one, Kingston Hall, one of my receivers that I coach. And like I said, those two probably looking for big years. But like I said, I enjoy my time with all of them, and I know they all watch me right now, and I appreciate the support.
Hey, we'll make sure they get their shout out here in this episode. But really want to thank you for your time this week, Lowell. Obviously, this is another big one, keeping the things going, keeping the good things going here on this long stretch here in the middle of the season. So appreciate your time this week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
And we want to thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Talking Blizz. Blizzard taking on the Barnstormers on Friday at home at the Resch Center. It is Uper night at the Resch Center. Look forward to Lowell putting on a show and seeing some snow whenever he gets into the end zone. We'll see that here this week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. As always, go Blizz.